How accurate is the most published book on the planet?
What I did, work in an area that says this little New Testament. If this book is inspired word of God, then Jesus is raised from the dead. If the book is not inspired, but it's reliable, Jesus has been raised from the dead. But what if the skeptics are right and it's neither? It's neither inspired nor reliable, and it's a book of ancient literature. And it's not inspired, it's not even reliable. We have enough data in an unreliable book to argue that Jesus is raised from the dead.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the kickoff to my AAA series, Atomizes Atheists. Anywho, this guy who calls himself the Skeptic. Real funny dude. Let's educate him.
Correct. The coincidences and random chance that led to the development of life is incredible, and the scientific explanations for how it all happened are fascinating. That is a bold assertion.
Bruh.
Not bold at all? A design inference is simply the logical step one makes to explain a lack of entropy in data. On the contrary, isn't it bold to assert that your Urey Miller experiment and whatnot has failed to reproduce any protocell, but only teeny tiny amino acids? All you do is sit around in a chair and point out quote-unquote logical fallacies, which are really just your failure, your refusal to see obvious causal connections in relevant experiences. Would you call it fallacious to say the next letter in the sequence is J, according to your style of reasoning? I think you would.
You were created by a tiny seahorse named Jeff.
Wow, you really are quite the narcissist here. Not all religious people are fundamentalists, or, in this case, I think she's just trying to convey a genuine message. You're going after people who aren't even in the discussion. Sadly, in your attempt to selectively go after less apologetic or intellectual Christians, you'll find out that you are in fact the low-hanging fruit.
By a vast measure, the Bible is the most printed book of all time.
But does the amount of times a collection of stories is printed make it true? Does that mean if Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone becomes the most printed book of all time, it becomes true?
How about you go back to high school and take a rhetorical analysis lesson? That wasn't the point she was trying to convey, merely that it deserves your attention on the basis of its relevance.
The Bible is 66 books, whereas there are 862 episodes of Doctor Who. I fail to see your point.
And not only do you need to take APLAC, but AP Lit as well. No, actually, I take that back. You just need some elementary logic drilled into your thick skull. Doctor Who is of a different genre than many of the books of the Bible. It's simply not an analogous comparison, because Doctor Who has no bearing on any truth claims.
It was written by farmers and shepherds and kings, prophets, tax collectors.
So, not actual writers.
Heard of the concept of a scribe? Let me break it down to you so someone even as you could understand. People write for other people, but, I'm sorry, did you not take any ancient history course? And just watch a bunch of atheist experience videos and think you'll become the next Matt Dillahunty? Yeah, that's what I thought. I find it funny that half your critiques are polemics without any actual research, but you have no credentials, you've written no papers, you've watched no debates, you've corresponded with no scholars.
However, 1 Corinthians was written by Paul, who was not listed as one of the witnesses.
Paul was an apostle, and to be qualified as an apostle, you need to be a witness. Not to mention that 1 Corinthians 15 does say that Paul was a witness. How pathetic. Thinking you can gloss over and dismiss the world's largest religion? Shake my head.
So it just becomes a story and can't be proven.
And so is all of history? I mean, by that logic, there's no evidence that you are just a brain in a vat, or that you are just adopted. Or maybe you are, who knows. Anywho, nobody's trying to prove anything with 100% certainty. We're deciding the most plausible, most reliable, most accurate conclusion.
But since those witnesses aren't present, we can only discount them.
No. Looks like you don't understand why court-admissible evidence has a higher burden of proof. It's not because your skeptometer is supposed to be set at a certain level for all claims, but rather that with the passing of time, the more correct logical inferences you have to make as you move towards the past. Not only that, but our court system is innocent until proven guilty for our prioritization of the protection of innocent individuals over mob majorities of guilty felons. Besides, are you really going to say that most accused people are actually innocent? Now, I for one am unsure about the appearance to the 500, but let me throw a wrench in your polemic. If Paul were lying, give me an argument for how he could get away with this. Furthermore, many of the apostles, some of whom we can historically verify, listen to what I'm telling you, we can verify, were martyred for their belief in Jesus' resurrection, despite the fact that they were unbelievers beforehand. You can either choose to go through the entire minimal facts argument dissertation of Habermas, purchase a copy of Dale Allison's new book on the resurrection, both of which are peer-reviewed in scholarship, no matter what religious affiliation you have, atheists and agnostics are included. Watch some debates, or just watch my videos for one thing, but I doubt you even have the decency to do any of that considering your track record to pick on people not even engaging in actual dialogue.
Hang on, so the accounts aren't the same?
But reliable.
It's more that the theme is the same. It's like you asking four friends to tell a story about dinosaurs. There may be similar parts of the stories and the theme would essentially be the same, but that doesn't tell you anything about how true they are.
And yet you are ready to falsify them on the basis of their similar themes? Exactly, standardized hypocrite.
Spider-Man had a dark side. It doesn't mean that Spider-Man's real.
No, of course not, but scholars don't just look at the setting in which the Gospels take place. They take a look at the point of view, literary characteristics, themes, descriptions, etc. But we've already established that you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between a comic book and a newspaper.
Though the story of Spider-Man can also give us hope for our own lives.
Yes, it does, but this is greater hope.
But even so, if some things in the Bible had come true, how is that proof of...
Now, I personally don't believe in Old Testament prophecies, but nonetheless, I schooled Matt Dillahunty in my short using PSR on this. A teacher doesn't look at another failing student such as yourself and his test that gets it all right and does nothing about it. No, they start to inquire if they were cheating. Likewise, hyper-skeptics as yourself wouldn't be able to come to any novel conclusions and would literally be stuck in a psychotic trance if you take your ideas seriously. No evidence for this, no evidence for that, no evidence that your methodology is practically useful.
I don't accept any of the stories in the Bible are true, as there's no evidence to back up any of them. So, this, to me, is just waffle.
Not as waffle as your brain. Next.
God is not constrained by the natural laws he created.
Can you prove that?
Can you disprove it? On the contrary, the agent that raised Christ from the dead must have been extremely powerful as to overcome natural law. So I think it's pretty damn probable this God we're talking about is pretty high up there.
And honestly, I don't think that humans would be happy with or without the miracles. For example, if he had never done anything supernatural outside the laws of physics, we would question if he was really there or if he was truly powerful.
I'm questioning that anyway.
I'm not sure you even understand what she just said, but let's see in your response video if you do understand what she said. The minimal facts is as good as proof. At least 97%, I would put it, and that's in Oxford University Press print. Now I'm going to predict, if this guy responds, that almost 99% of this guy's responses are going to be in the form of, just because X doesn't necessarily mean Y. Well, of course, nobody is saying it necessarily means anything, but rather that X very likely, most probably, 99% means Y. This is what I notice in people of your type. So I would be rather impressed if you could demonstrate why your case is more probable than mine, instead of magically demanding responsibility on our part to prove it 100% to be true. What a parrot you are. You can do nothing but parrot the style of neo-atheists, but you can't advance the discourse any further. You haven't come up with any insight or deeper understanding into the conversation. Get out of the psychotic trance and stop being spoon-fed the evidence. We are fed up with your laziness and inability to come to your own rational inquiry. I'm not saying you don't have a right to your own bigoted ideas, but before you start insulting my brothers and sisters, consider the intellectual decapitation, the atomization that will come for you if the apologists take notice. Peace.